Women Arise with Power is an annual conference inspired by events in Nthabiseng Montsho's life. The theme for this year's meeting is aimed at encouraging women to work hard at being financially independent. As someone in the public eye, Montsho's aim is to also support women in the media to not shy away from speaking out. Life coach and author Nthabiseng Montsho joins me in the studio this morning to explore these topics, including the persistent scourge of gender-based violence. Nthabiseng, thank you so much for your time. You are a vision, a bright vision of colour on a rather chilly winter's morning in Johannesburg. Thank you so much for your time, as always. You wear various hats, and such is the life that you've lived. You've lived various lives already in the short time that you've been on Earth. At the point where you find yourself at right now, when you introduce yourself to people, or when you have to send a profile to somebody to say this is who I am and this is what I want to talk about, which of your life experiences do you put right at the top? Because a lot of people who follow your work know that you're also a survivor of gender-based violence. How far up the list is that, and how important is it for your recovery and as you strive forward, where that fits in about who you are and what you've come to say to people?
Thank you so much, Marcel, for having me. Look, for me, the issue of gender-based violence takes precedence, and simply because it is a pandemic which has been there during our great-grandmothers' times, our grandmothers' times. We saw our mothers die prematurely because of the very same scourge, and we see it living itself in our lifetime to a point of femicide, you know. And for me, it's no use, you know, to keep quiet when we continue to bury our sisters, our cousins, our mothers, you know, our grandmothers, because of intimate relationship crimes, you know. So for me, I'm all about, I want women to be at peace, to be free, and to leave toxic spaces and toxic relationships so they can explore, you know, what life has to offer for themselves. Moving forward. I
want to talk to you about your encouraging of those who are women in the media space to speak up. Speaking up is important to acknowledge what you're going through, but speaking up could mean different things to different people depending on the situation that they find themselves in. Do you see a difference in that people in the media should be using their platform to speak out, but a woman living in a community, depending on her husband, her speaking up would just mean saying, I'm in trouble and I need help, and it doesn't have to be broadcast everywhere?
Look, we've seen in the past women in the media, people like Kelly Kumalo and the others, who have spoken boldly about abuse in their lives. I'm in the media space, and it is no use to pretend as though we are living perfect lives being in the media space, while we know that we are dying. And people actually look up to us. They look at our lifestyles and what we probably seem to be perfectionists as couples.
And social media doesn't help, does it?
Exactly, it doesn't. So when I came out about my abuse with my recent marriage, which I just divorced, thank God, I was intentional about it, because I know there's a lot of women who are looking up to me thinking, I would love to live this perfect life. But it was for me to say, guys, I am in a narcissistic relationship. What is seemingly perfect on the outside is actually not what it is, and I'm tired. So that is when I decided to come out. And I think a lot of people are very scared. I had over 1,000 inboxes when I came out of women in the media space who said, you know what, we are scared to talk. Well-known big names, and thank you for sharing your story. And a lot of them are giving me, you know, like, I know there's a lot of them who said I am out. I know others who are saying I'm navigating. Others are saying I'm scared to talk because of the media. I mean, at some point I was bashed, I think, in a way, for speaking out and speaking my truth in the public space. But we cannot continue to lose women.
You're just looking for attention now. Why don't you deal with this behind closed doors like,
and I'm not
like other women should, like all women should?
fortunately, I'm not other women. I am Nthabiseng Montsho. I am that woman who will not allow myself and my children, having birthed 4 girls, to actually go and to experience that, and to look at my grandmother and what my mother had to go through. And some of the women in my circles, and like they sit for this scourge and I'm sorry for the language, for the French, but the nonsense of staying in a toxic relationship to a point of being sick with all these diseases, your high blood,
because it does manifest
depression.
itself physically. We know that.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, definitely. So for me, it was a thing of, woman, don't care what your culture, your tradition say to say you must begezela. Not in 2023. If you see that you are non-functional, if you see that you are losing yourself, depleting yourself daily, when you evaluate yourself, from the time you met this person and where you are, and you see that you've lost yourself, you don't know yourself anymore, love yourself enough to leave a toxic space.
Now, I can tell when you now just said, almost flippantly, thank goodness I've divorced him. The tears did appear because it is still quite an emotional thing. So all power to you for making that decision and being able to get out. There are millions of women in your position who are unable to do that. That is, however, part of the issue is that it is an intergenerational scourge, isn't it? Grandmothers, mothers, and now you are in a position to cut that chain off at its neck, so that your daughters can see you can do it, and you can remove yourself from a toxic environment. Part of what you're talking about in the conference, however, is also about encouraging women to be financially independent, because we all know that is a massive part of the problem, isn't it?
That is so true. I am inundated by a lot of inboxes of women who are saying, I can't leave because I am fully financially dependent on this person. And again, dear women, in 2023, after you've experienced and you know in your spirit that this is not a good space for you, what is so difficult for you as a woman to take charge of yourself and use your talents and your strengths to actually advance yourself? So part of what we'll be talking about in the conference is to say, Queen, you need to rise to a point where you are able to be financially, spiritually, emotionally independent. You see, healing is a process. You will heal as you go. But have these basics right, because if you do that, you'll be able to free even your children from toxic marriages and spaces where children are growing up seeing fights and arguments in the family as a norm.
And that becomes a template for them.
Exactly. And we know as women, when we are okay in our mind, when our spirit is in the right place, we make things happen. In fact, men come to women who are actually stable mentally, so they can discredit them because they want to take their power and their light and their shine. So there's nothing wrong with being independent. People must not lie and say women must, yes, submit and all of that. You submit also to a vision that you know will carry both of you forward without allowing somebody to be threatened by the light and the gifts that God has given to you as a woman, because you are a queen and you're a leader and you deserve to be at peace.
I like how you just said flippantly, Queen. That's how we should be talking to ourselves in the mirror every morning. Queen, listen, we've got a lot to do, but we're going to do it very quickly. We've run out of time. Show us your book that you've written. Where can people find out more about the book and your conference? Women
Arise with Power is my book. And I say on the book, no matter how many times you fall, Queen, rise, live, laugh, and love like you never felt, because love is a beautiful thing. They can go to my, they can email Nthabi at nthabim.com or admin@nthabim.com, or they can actually go to my Facebook handle, Nthabiseng Montsho.
And they can find out more about the conference there as well. Okay, fantastic. Queen, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really needed that. Put that into your coffee and get going this Sunday. And we do hope we've planted a seed, at least with one person watching this morning. And all power to you. That's life coach and author Nthabiseng Montsho joining us live here in studio.